1. As Sarah drove down the dark, winding road, she felt a sudden chill crawl up her spine. She glanced in her rear view mirror and saw a pale figure standing in the middle of the road, staring directly at her with empty eyes. She slammed on the brakes, but the figure vanished into thin air. 2. The radio suddenly crackled to life, emitting an eerie static that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. A disembodied voice whispered, "You shouldn't be here." She frantically changed the station, but the same voice continued to follow her, growing louder and more sinister with each passing mile. 3. A thick fog rolled in, obscuring Sarah's vision and making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. Out of the mist, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared, watching her every move as she drove on in terror. 4. Suddenly, Sarah's car began to shake violently, as if an unseen force was trying to tear it apart. The steering wheel jerked out of her hands, and she struggled to regain control as the malevolent presence continued to torment her. 5. In the distance, Sarah saw a figure standing by the side of the road, waving frantically for help. Against her better judgment, she pulled over to offer assistance, only to realize too late that the figure was not human, but a ghostly apparition intent on luring her to her doom. 6. Shadows danced along the roadside, growing taller and more menacing with each passing second. Sarah felt as though she was being followed by something dark and sinister, something that wanted nothing more than to drag her into the depths of the night. 7. A sudden downpour drenched the road, making it slick and treacherous. Sarah's tires skidded on the wet pavement, sending her car careening out of control. As she fought to regain her grip on the wheel, she felt a cold hand brush against her cheek, a whisper of icy breath on her skin. 8. The road ahead seemed to stretch on endlessly, the surrounding trees closing in on all sides. Sarah felt trapped, hemmed in by an unseen barrier that threatened to suffocate her with its oppressive weight. 9. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows of the car, carrying with it the sound of mournful wails and anguished cries. Sarah tried to block out the noise, but it seemed to echo in her ears, drowning out all other thoughts. 10. In the distance, Sarah saw what appeared to be a figure standing in the middle of the road, arms outstretched as if beckoning her closer. Despite her instincts screaming at her to turn back, she felt compelled to drive on, drawn towards the figure as if by some unseen force. 11. The road ahead twisted and turned, leading Sarah deeper into the heart of the darkness. She could feel eyes watching her from the shadows, malevolent and hungry, waiting for her to make a wrong move. 12. A strange mist descended upon the road, obscuring everything in a thick blanket of white. Sarah could barely see in front of her, the fog swallowing up the world around her as if it were hungry for more. 13. As Sarah drove on, she heard a loud thump from the trunk of her car. Heart pounding, she pulled over to investigate, only to find nothing there. But as she got back in the car and started to drive again, the thumping continued, louder and more insistent than before. 14. The moon overhead cast an eerie glow on the road, painting the trees and shadows in stark relief. Sarah felt as though she had entered another world, a world where nothing was as it seemed, and danger lurked at every turn. 15. In the distance, Sarah saw a figure dart across the road, moving with supernatural speed and grace. She felt a cold chill run down her spine, knowing instinctively that whatever it was not of this world. 16. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the road, revealing a gaunt figure standing at the edge of the woods. Its eyes glowed a sickly yellow, boring into Sarah with a malevolent intensity that made her blood run cold. 17. The road ahead seemed to stretch on forever, twisting and turning in ways that defied logic. Sarah felt as though she were caught in a never-ending loop, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no waking. 18. A sudden crash echoed through the night, the sound of metal on metal reverberating through the darkness. Sarah's car shuddered as if struck by an unseen force, and she knew with a sinking heart that whatever was out there, it meant her harm. 19. The trees along the roadside seemed to come alive, their branches reaching out like clawed hands. Sarah swerved to avoid them, but they seemed to follow her, their twisted forms closing in on all sides. 20. As Sarah approached a deserted stretch of road, she saw a figure standing in the middle of the lane, its back to her. She honked her horn, trying to get the figure to move, but it remained eerily still, unmoving and unyielding. 21. The road seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy, the very ground beneath, Sarah's tires feeling alive and hostile. She could sense that the road itself was against her, a living entity with its own dark intentions. 22. A sudden feeling of dread washed over Sarah, as if a presence had settled in the car with her, watching and waiting for the right moment to strike. She could feel eyes boring into her from all sides, unseen and malevolent. 23. The road ahead seemed to warp and shift, the pavement taking on a sickly hue that made Sarah's stomach churn. She tried to look away, but the road seemed to demand her attention, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. 24. A sudden coldness settled in the car, despite the heater being turned on high. Sarah shivered, feeling as though the temperature had dropped by several degrees in a matter of seconds. She could see her breath misting in the air, a stark reminder of the supernatural chill that surrounded her. 25. A sudden figure stepped out onto the road, blocking Sarah's path. She slammed on the brakes, heart pounding in her chest, but the figure remained unmoving, its eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her blood run cold. 26. Shadows darted across the road, moving with an otherworldly speed that defied explanation. Sarah felt as though she were being pursued by something dark and malevolent, something that would stop at nothing to catch her. 27. The road ahead split into two paths, both shrouded in darkness and mystery. Sarah hesitated, unsure of which way to go, each path seeming equally foreboding and dangerous. 28. A sudden sense of déjà vu washed over Sarah, as if she had traveled this road 1,000 times before, each time ending in the same terrifying conclusion. She felt as though she were caught in a never-ending nightmare, unable to break free from its grasp. 29. The road suddenly narrowed, the trees on either side closing in on all sides. Sarah felt as though she were driving through a tunnel of darkness, the oppressive weight of the trees pressing down on her from above. 30. A figure appeared in the back seat of the car, its features shrouded in shadow. Sarah screamed and tried to swerve off the road, but the figure remained unnervingly calm, watching her with eyes that gleamed in the darkness. 31. The road ahead seemed to twist and contort, its very shape changing before Sarah's eyes. She felt as though she were driving through a nightmare landscape where nothing was as it seemed, and danger lurked at every turn. 32. A sudden silence settled over the car, the engine cutting out with a final, ominous groan. Sarah tried to restart it, but the car remained stubbornly still, as if unwilling to move. She felt a growing sense of panic as the darkness closed in around her. 33. The road seemed to slope upwards, impossibly steep and treacherous. Sarah felt as though she were driving towards her own doom, the road leading her ever higher towards an unknown and terrifying destination.